Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be going through a recent Panda commission that I got, so stay tuned. So I'm starting off as usual by painting the outside of the eyes, nose and mouth in that black chromacryl paint. And I get a lot of questions, the same questions on every video, what clay I use, and I have to say in every video I say that this is a resin piece. I sculpted it from monster clay, moulded in silicone and cast it in resin, so I don't use clay. And I prime my resin pieces that I'm going to paint in a flat white paint with a good tooth on it, so the paint has something to stick to. Now, the customer wanted a brown panda with teal eyes, so I thought it was great that it was something different and not your typical panda bear. So here's my messy paint job, so you don't worry, you don't have to be too particular about it because you're going to cover up with fur. So I'm using some Dervian Matisse in acrylite green. It was a nice teal colour that I wanted to use for the eyes. I had my eye on this paint for quite a while, so I found the perfect time to buy it and use it on a creature. So just going in and filling in that eye hole in that teal paint. Sorry for the weird Rick and Morty reference then. So here are the eyes ready to dry, and I only had to do one coat of paint for the teal bit because it was really good solid paint that covered well. And filling in the pupil area with that dry brush technique, and I do have a video on how to paint dragon eyes, so you can check that out. I'll try and remember to link it in the description. And now moving on to the bare feet, and this is also something that I have sculpted, molded and cast in resin myself. So I have 4 different types of bear paws. So because of the pads on the bear paws, they are a particular direction on each foot, so I had to create 4 different feet. And again, I'm just going a bit more sloppy with this particular paint job, just because the fur that I'm going to be putting on this will be dark. So the more dark paint that's on there, the better, because any see-through that you get will blend away. So this is the fur that I'm going to be using just for the bottom ends of the legs. And it's a nice thick brown coloured fur and with a short kind of pile. And what I've done here is just mark out the patterns for the bottom of the legs only, because I'm going to be airbrushing the patterns onto the top of the body itself. So I wanted the legs to be more of a solid colour than actually what the airbrush can offer. So again, using a small pair of scissors and just cutting the backing of the fur so it doesn't cut the actual pile. And this is the white fur that I'm going to be using for majority of the body, and it's the same sort of thickness fur and the same pile length as well, so it will match and not look any odd or anything. So as you can see here, I've just drawn out the body patterns without the legs, because I'm going to be attaching the legs later on with that brown fur. So once I've done that, I run it through a sewing machine, and here's what we have as a result. It looks a bit complex a little bit, but it's not too bad. It's just a lot more work when you're attaching different coloured pieces to each other. So once I've turned it inside out, this is what we've got so far, with the butt open. So in the meantime, I've created an armature and attached the resin pieces in, so it looks something like this, and you can see the posability that I have. So right now I didn't have to leave the legs open like I normally do in hand sew, because it's a big enough leg for the sewing machine to sew and for me to flip it through. So all I have to do is glue on that piece with that tacky fabric glue that I use for everything else. All I've left open is the back end, and so we'll have to hand sew those 2 back legs and the tail piece together. So moving on to it all sewn up, and you can see the little tails on there and the legs are all sewn up, and all I have to do now is glue those pieces of fur to the resin piece, and it's as simple as the same as I do with every other video. Airbrush time! So I'm going to be using this Jacquard paint. It's a textile paint in raw umber, and I just did a little test on the white fur to see how it turns out, and then I'm going to be spraying the pattern on with an airbrush. So I was thinking about doing a video about my airbrush and compressors that I use, so if you want that, let me know in the comments down below. And here's what we have after I have airbrushed it. And you can see how the pattern turned out exactly how I wanted it to. And here's the final piece, and it's going off to the new home tomorrow. Alright, that is it for me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. If you have any requests, you can leave it in the comments down below. You can also check me out on Instagram and Facebook at Creatures of Net, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!